I am Andrew. I am the process and outreach coordinator for the Critical Zone Collaborative Network's Big Data Cluster. And I am joined today by, please introduce yourself.
My name is Dr. Chandar Lewis. I'm an associate professor in the College of Education in the Department of Educational Administration, Foundations, and Research at Jackson State University, which is an HBCU in Jackson, Mississippi.
That is a long departmental title. What is all going
It,
on inside that department?
um, it is the department where you go if you are wanting to become a principal, or if you are a principal and you're wanting additional training or things of that nature. I
So that
came to Jackson State in that role, and I received my tenure and promotion there. But also while at Jackson State, I worked as the director of teacher ed, which is where I was when I started this collaboration with University of Vermont.
so it looks like we started collaborating with a rising star. You're moving right up through the ranks
I,
there.
I won't say that, but
One of the things about I'm curious to talk to you a little bit about education. That's what you think about teaching teachers how to teach, which is a fascinating thing to sort
correct.
of wrap your head around how that works. Because teachers don't go into the classroom knowing how to teach. It's not an innate ability. It's not
No,
for everybody. Not everybody has the skill set needed to be successful. And working with principals, that's like leadership inside a school that leads the teachers and teaches the teachers leaders how to lead.
right.
What do you wish people understood a bit more about principals in their schools?
I had the privilege of working in the, I say it was the best of both worlds as a former teacher and a former principal. Being the director of teacher ed, I was working with those pre-service teachers, and I was still in my department working with those persons that wanted to become principals. So I saw it from several different angles and several different eyes. I think one of the things that people need to understand when it comes to principals is the first thing is the principal's job is one of the loneliest jobs in the building. And that's because everything rises and falls with leadership. Everything that's good, leadership. Everything that's not so good is leadership. So I think that one of the things that leaders need, and we pour so much into teacher support and making sure that they have that self-awareness of what's going on with them, and they have that support in their classrooms, that sometimes principals get neglected, and they're neglected because they're supposed to already have everything together, but that is not always the case, and they're human, so they need that layer of support as well when what's going on in their buildings, what's going on in their districts. When I was the principal, I did not have an assistant principal, so everything was on my shoulders, and so there are a lot of situations like that. So I think that people need to understand, one, principals are human. Principals have families. Principals go home to their husbands and their wives and their children, and they have to take off that educator hat and put on their mom and dad hat. And sometimes it's hard to make that shift. And also that most principals want what's best for all of the children in their building. They want each and every child to succeed in the best way that they can succeed. They want each and every one of their teachers to be successful in their own right and in their own content areas. And they're there to be a support. They're there to help guide them and mold them and give them avenues for success.
So really sounds like they help shape the culture of the school. They can establish themselves as someone to people that can come to them and find those resources and get the support that they need. And then they just have to sit back and be like, yes, I did my job. But nobody is there to clap for the principal.
No, principals hardly ever get that recognition. Most of it goes to the teacher, and rightfully so. The teachers are the ones that are in the classrooms all more often than not with the principals. But the principals are the ones that are providing and making the conditions so that teachers can be successful.
And one of the things that the cluster is working on is developing resources for those classroom teachers, a place that you have also been a classroom teacher. What is something that you wish people knew and understood more about that person that has so much to do with the life of your most valuable resource, your children?
First, I wish we could shift the mindset of what people think about teachers and value what they bring to the table. Um, you don't always want to put emphasis on salaries, But in this situation, you have to, because teachers are never compensated in the manner in which they are that they're rightfully due. They shape every area of life. You wouldn't have engineers if you didn't have kindergarten teachers. You wouldn't have doctors and neurosurgeons and all of this astronauts if you didn't have kindergarten teachers. Um, so teachers shape the world. And I think that there needs to be a shift in the mindset of the work that teachers do. I've heard so often, and it used to bother me, but I've gotten to, after you've been in this game for a while, you grow numb to some things. But oh, they only work 5 days a week, and they're off on weekends, and they're off every summer. Very seldom is a teacher off the entire summer, because he or she takes that entire summer preparing for the next year. Very seldom are they completely off on the weekends, because they're preparing their lessons or their lesson plans or what they're going to do for the next year. And most of the time they're using their own funds to get things for their students. I know this because I personally, extra funds I would get, go in different places. Oh, I need to get this for my class. I need to get this for my class. So they pour so much of themselves, whether it's their emotions, their spirituality, whatever it may be, they pour financially, they pour into their classrooms. And people need to understand that a teacher's job does not end at 3:30 on a Friday and they are turned off and they're back on Monday. It does not end at the end of the school year, whether it's May or June, and then pick back up in August and September. It does not end. It is a 24/7 job, 365 days of the year.
We in the cluster are collaborating with you to try to fuel some of that passion, to give them energy and resources that they can use to inspire those kindergartners to want to be environmental scientists or biologists or any of these sort of science things. What has been the most interesting part of you of collaborating with these scientists to develop some classroom materials for them? Do they understand what really is needed in the classroom?
I think that we forget once you get to higher ed. Sometimes you forget that there's K-12, and that by the time students make it to certain levels of science at the higher ed level, those students have gone through a series of courses and classes and have this innate desire for science. What I think at the higher ed level, and this is where professors such as UVM come in, is starting early and building that love and that desire for science in the elementary level. Because one of the big things and the pushes that we did when it came to this project was we were saying that there was a gap between what was taught in elementary school and what's taught in middle school. There was a huge gap. I saw it when I was teaching it, because I taught in elementary school, but it really became very noticeable for me when my own children were transitioning from elementary to middle school. And the things that they were asked to do, and they were coming to me and saying, well, Mom, how do I do blah, blah, blah? And I said, you didn't go over that in your class and blah, blah, blah. And then I'd have to play back in my mind the little science that they did do didn't necessarily equip them for what they were getting ready to do in middle school. So of course, then Mom, because I had taught ninth grade biology, I had been an elementary school teacher, I was able to bridge that gap. But that's because I was a teacher. And what about those other students whose parents were not teachers? So I think that professors a lot of times forget that there's a process to getting students prepared for science, and there's a process in getting them excited about science. Because the most important thing about science is you're learning about yourself, you're learning about the environment, and it's so connected to life. I think that's the part that is a lot of times forgotten, that connection to just real life, whether it's the human body, whether it's electricity, whether it's water, everything is connected to life. And I think that's the part that we have got to get back to, just that the basic understanding of how things work, the basic understanding of how things operate in real life, in regards to what children can learn from just an ant colony, and how things work together and how people work together, how if you work as a group, this is what you can accomplish. So just science teaches you about life.
Classroom teachers in the elementary and level they have to teach everything. How do you get them resources to teach science as well as they might teach speech or handwriting or a math thing? How can we do better at that?
I think that's where the professors will come in, and we create a lot of times those module lessons that we started out doing. I think so often, a lot of times teachers don't always go that extra mile, is because they're already bogged down with a lot of different things that they already have to do. So if we could create the lessons for them and have them available where they could go and click on this, hey, this is already put together for you. Look at this, you can incorporate this into your lesson. I think one of the biggest things for professors is we will have to make those resources not only accessible, but user-friendly for them to be able to plug into their lessons, be able to I remember picking up resources, wondering, okay, now how am I going to fit this in my class? But we can design those lessons where they easily understand, oh, well, this fits in right here when we're talking about the life cycle of a frog, or where this fits in right here when we're talking about the water cycle, or hey, this fits in when I'm talking about how to structure a building and putting a foundation together, some type. Everything, if we design those lessons for them in such a way that everything will just plug in for them, not watered down, but just more as a resource to plug in for them.
Thank you so much for taking some time to talk today. I hope we'll talk again in the future, but I have one last little thing that I'm curious to ask you about.
Okay.
The climate crisis is here. Things are getting worse in the climate every single day. There's reports all over about the worsening situation for everybody in the world. How can we help prepare teachers to be able to teach when things are changing so quickly?
Well, for one, we need to also be up to date on our own knowledge of current events and current situations, and take that information to the teachers. Say, hey, this is what's going on in the world, and we want to be able to equip you. When I say designing things for them, I don't say designing things for them without having their voice as part of that designing process. How do you think this will fit in? This is what your curriculum has. Can this fit in? Where can this fit in for you? And what can we do to help you? What can we do to designing this for you? Make this easier to fit into your curriculum. I think that needs to be a way that we discuss global warming. I don't think that's something that we need to shy away from. It's very real. It's not about, it's affecting us all in so many different ways, whether it be the weather. Where I live, it's 27 one day and 77 the next. So, it's really, really affecting us all. So I think that reaching out to the teachers and letting them know, hey, this is what's going on in the world, and we want to help you to address it. How can we best assist you in addressing this with your students?
Be open, transparent, listen, empathetic,
Yes.
and patient.
And patient, but open, transparent, empathetic. All of what you just said, Andrew, is exactly what's needed. Most of the time, teachers just need a voice. Principals, they just need a voice for someone to listen to them about what's going on in their classrooms, in their districts, in their communities. And once you listen to them and see what their needs are and what's going on with them, I think we'll be able to create those resources that they need and be able to help them plug them in where needed.